Hook intro. What if a simple, unexpected moment could change your entire future? Jasmine is just an ordinary high school girl with an extraordinary passion for cars. One hot summer afternoon, as she's walking home, she hears a powerful engine sputtering nearby. She finds a sleek, broken-down Mustang on the roadside, and a frustrated millionaire struggling to fix it. Without hesitation, Jasmine offers to help, using her knowledge and skill to get the car running again. But this isn't just a lucky encounter. When the millionaire catches sight of the delicate ring on her finger, his world stops. That small shining ring unlocks secrets of family, betrayal, and a long-lost promise that neither of them expected to face. What begins as a simple act of kindness soon turns into a journey filled with mystery, surprising connections, and the chance to rewrite their destinies. Trust me, you'll want to stay until the very end, because this story is about to take a turn you never saw coming. Chapter 1: The Broken Mustang. It was one of those blazing summer afternoons when the sun felt like a heavy weight pressing down on everything it touched. Jasmine wiped the sweat from her forehead as she walked home from school, her backpack slung over one shoulder. A confident and determined high school senior, she had always carried a quiet strength about her. While many of her classmates were dreaming about parties or college life, Jasmine's mind was usually tangled in thoughts about engines, transmissions, and fixing things that most people wouldn't dare touch. Ever since she was little, she loved cars, especially old, classic ones. Her dream was simple: to become a skilled mechanic, maybe even own her own workshop someday. As she walked down the quiet street, the distant roar of an engine suddenly caught her attention. It was not the smooth purr of a modern car, but a rough sputtering sound that seemed like it was struggling to keep going. Jasmine's curiosity immediately piqued. She followed the noise around the corner and spotted a sleek, shiny black Mustang parked awkwardly on the side of the road. Thick gray smoke was rising from under the hood, twisting up into the clear blue sky. Standing next to the car was a man in his 40s, dressed in a tailored suit and polished shoes that didn't seem to belong on a dusty roadside. He was bending over the open hood, his face a mix of frustration and worry. He kept brushing his hair back, clearly uncomfortable in the heat and out of his element. Jasmine took a few steps closer and cleared her throat softly. "Hey, I know a bit about cars," she said, trying to sound casual but hoping he would listen. "Maybe I can help." The man looked up, surprised. His eyes scanned her face, young, confident, and with grease smudges faintly visible on her fingertip. After a brief pause, he nodded, relief flickering in his eyes. "I'm not sure what's wrong with it," he admitted, stepping aside. "Thank you." Jasmine rolled up her sleeves and crouched in front of the car, opening the hood with practiced ease. The engine was old, but clearly well cared for, except for one glaring problem. Her trained eyes quickly spotted a broken spark plug wire hanging loose, its end charred and cracked. Without hesitation, she reached into her backpack and pulled out a small toolkit she always carried for emergencies. She smiled slightly. Her father had taught her that being prepared was half the battle. Carefully, she removed the damaged wire and replaced it with a spare one from her kit. Her hands moved confidently, steady and precise. After double-checking all the connections, she stepped back and nodded toward the man. "Try starting it now." He turned the key, and for a moment, the engine hesitated, then roared back to life with a powerful growl that filled the street. Jasmine's face lit up with quiet satisfaction. "Wow," the man breathed out, clearly impressed. "You really know your stuff." "I've always loved working on cars," Jasmine said, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I want to be a mechanic someday." The man smiled, a genuine warmth in his eyes. "I'm Miss Carlisle," he introduced himself. "I run a few businesses around town. Seems like you're quite talented." Jasmine felt a flush of pride, but kept her hopes guarded. She didn't want to get her expectations too high. Dreams were nice, but reality had a way of pulling people back down. As Miss Carlisle thanked her again, and offered to call a tow truck just in case, Jasmine quietly noticed a few subtle signs around him. The expensive watch on his wrist, the polished briefcase by his side, the way he carried himself with quiet confidence. He was definitely not the kind of person she ran into every day. Before they parted ways, Jasmine slipped her hands back into her pockets and smiled shyly. "I'm glad I could help," she said simply. Little did she know, that brief moment beside a broken Mustang was the start of something neither of them could have predicted. A story tangled in secrets, family ties, and a mysterious ring that would change both of their lives forever. Chapter 2, An Unexpected Offer. Miss Carlyle glanced over at Jasmine as she slid into the passenger seat of the Mustang. The car's leather seats were warm from the afternoon sun, and the sleek interior gleamed with the kind of care only a true enthusiast would give. Jasmine felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She wasn't used to riding in such fancy cars, let alone being driven by a millionaire businessman who seemed both polite and genuinely interested in her. As Mr. Carlyle started the engine, the Mustang growled softly, ready to glide down the quiet streets. "So," he began, glancing sideways with a kind smile. "What's your story, Jasmine? You don't seem like the typical high schooler who just happens to know about cars." Jasmine shrugged, looking out the window as the city blurred past. "I guess I'm a little different. Ever since I was a kid, I've loved cars. My dad showed me how to change oil, check the engine, stuff like that. I like figuring out how things work." "That's impressive," Mr. Carlyle said. "And what about after school? Any plans?" Jasmine took a deep breath. "I want to become a mechanic. I want to work on cars, every day, maybe own my own workshop someday. But college is expensive. I'm not sure how I'll manage to pay for it." Mr. Carlyle nodded thoughtfully. "I understand. It's tough when you have big dreams but face obstacles like money." For a moment, they drove in silence, the hum of the Mustang filling the space. Jasmine couldn't help but feel a strange mix of hope and doubt. She wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, this chance meeting could lead to something more. Finally, they arrived at a small but busy car workshop on the edge of town. The sign read, "Carlyle Auto Works." Jasmine's eyes widened slightly. "This is yours." "Yes," Mr. Carlyle said proudly. "It's been in my family for years. We specialize in restoring classic cars and customizing modern ones." Jasmine's heart raced. This was exactly the kind of place she dreamed of working in. Mr. Carlyle turned to her with a serious but encouraging look. "How would you like to intern here this summer? Come learn everything you can. I think you have real potential, and I'd love to give you a chance to prove it." Jasmine's breath caught in her throat. This was more than she'd ever hoped for. "Thank you, sir," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'd love that." Real. The offer felt like a door opening to a new world, but Jasmine also felt cautious. She'd been let down before by people who promised help but disappeared when things got tough. Still, something about Mr. Carlyle felt different, genuine. They stepped out of the car, and Jasmine turned to leave. But as she held out her hand to say goodbye, Mr. Carlyle's eyes caught something glimmering on her finger. "Wait a moment," he said softly, lowering his voice as he gestured to the small ring on her left hand. "That's an unusual ring for someone your age. It looks old, maybe even valuable." Jasmine glanced at the delicate band, simple but elegant, with a tiny sapphire set in the center. It was her mother's ring, passed down through generations, a family heirloom she rarely spoke about. "It means a lot to me," Jasmine said quietly, pulling her hand back. "It's from my family." Mr. Carlyle studied the ring carefully, his expression unreadable for a moment. There was something about it that stirred a memory deep inside him, though he didn't say anything just yet. Jasmine smiled shyly, sensing the change in the air. "Well, thank you again for the ride and the opportunity. I won't let you down." Mr. Carlyle nodded, watching her walk away with a newfound respect. As Jasmine disappeared down the sidewalk, he turned back to his Mustang, his mind already racing with questions about the girl, the ring, and what secrets might lie behind them both. Chapter 3, The Mystery of the Ring. The next day, as Jasmine rolled up the sleeves of her mechanic's coveralls and prepared to start her first day at Carlyle Auto Works, she couldn't help but think about the strange conversation she'd had with Mr. Carlyle the day before. The moment his eyes had caught the glint of the ring on her finger, his expression had shifted, something unspoken hung between them. She brushed the thought aside, focusing instead on the rows of classic cars waiting for restoration. That afternoon, during a break, Carlyle approached her with a soft, curious tone. "That's a beautiful ring you wear. Is it special?" His voice held more warmth than the typical business formality, inviting her to share. Jasmine looked down at her hand, her fingers curling slightly over the delicate band. Her smile faded, and she hesitated. "It's from my family," she said quietly. "My mom gave it to me before she passed. It's important, more than just jewelry." Mr. Carlyle nodded, sensing the weight behind her words. It looks like it belongs to a rare collection. Do you know where it came from originally? Jasmine shook her head. Not really. My mom never talked much about it. She just said it was something to remember her by. Later that evening, back at his spacious home overlooking the city, Mr. Carlyle found himself unable to shake the image of Jasmine's ring. There was something hauntingly familiar about its design. The shape of the band, the color of the tiny sapphire embedded in it. It tugged at a part of his memory he hadn't accessed in years. Driven by curiosity, he pulled out a dusty leather-bound book from his study, a catalog of heirlooms and valuables once owned by his family. As he flipped through the pages, his breath caught when he saw it. A picture of a ring that was almost identical to the one Jasmine wore. The catalog described it as part of a rare collection commissioned by his great-grandfather's family, known for its exquisite craftsmanship and high value. Suddenly, the connection between Jasmine's ring and his own family history became impossible to ignore. The wealthy family that once owned this collection had many secrets, some of which had never been spoken aloud. Meanwhile, Jasmine was settling into her role at the workshop. Every day she arrived early and stayed late, eager to soak up knowledge. She handled tools and engines with a natural ease that impressed even the veteran mechanics. Her passion was clear, and word of her talent began to spread through the workshop. Yet she couldn't help but notice the way Mr. Carlyle watched her, sometimes from across the garage, sometimes with a lingering glance when she was adjusting the ring on her finger. It was a look that mixed admiration with something else, something deeper and more thoughtful. One afternoon, as Jasmine tightened a bolt on a gleaming vintage engine, Mr. Carlyle approached her again. "You've got real talent, Jasmine. I'm glad you're here," he said sincerely. "Thank you," she replied, smiling but still curious about what he might be thinking. He glanced at her hand. "If you ever want to talk about that ring, or anything else, you know where to find me." Jasmine nodded, but kept quiet. The ring was a part of her past she wasn't ready to share, not yet. As days passed, the mystery of the ring hung silently between them, a secret thread connecting their lives in ways neither fully understood. Carlyle's discoveries had sparked questions about his own family's legacy, and Jasmine's presence was a reminder that some stories are never truly finished. They wait patiently for the right moment to be told. Chapter 4, Secrets Unveiled. The workday at Carlyle Auto Works had finally ended, and the golden glow of the setting sun filtered through the large garage windows, casting long shadows across the tools and car parts scattered around. Jasmine and Miss Carlyle were the last two remaining, cleaning up and putting away equipment. There was a quiet tension in the air, the kind that signals something important is about to be shared. Jasmine glanced at Mr. Carlyle, her heart pounding with a mixture of nerves and resolve. She knew that what she was about to say could change everything, not just for her, but for him too. Taking a deep breath, she finally broke the silence. "Mr. Carlyle," she began softly, "there's something I've been meaning to tell you about the ring." She paused, searching his face for any sign of impatience or judgment, but all she saw was patient curiosity. "The ring isn't just a family heirloom," she continued, her voice steady despite the weight of her words. "It's tied to a secret my family has been protecting for years, a secret that has shaped who we are." Mr. Carlyle set down a wrench and turned to face her fully, his eyes locked on hers. "Go on," he urged gently. Jasmine took another deep breath and began the story her mother had whispered to her as a child, a story filled with love, betrayal, and heartbreak. "My great-grandmother was once engaged to a very wealthy man," Jasmine explained. "He came from a powerful family, the kind with money, influence, and connections. They were supposed to marry, to unite their families. The ring I wear was given to her as a symbol of that promise." She paused, the memories flooding back with painful clarity. "But the engagement was broken. There was a scandal, something that tore their families apart. My great-grandmother was accused of something terrible, something she didn't do. She was blamed unfairly and cast out, forced to live a life far from the wealth and respect she deserved." Jasmine's voice cracked slightly, but she pressed on. "The ring became a symbol, not just of love lost, but of hope. Hope that one day, the truth would come out and justice would be served." Mr. Carlyle listened intently, his usually composed face betraying a flicker of emotion. When Jasmine finished, he was silent for a long moment, as if piecing together fragments of a long-forgotten puzzle. Then slowly he spoke. "That wealthy man, my grandfather," he said quietly, the words hanging heavily between. "The man your great-grandmother was engaged to, he was my grandfather." Jasmine's eyes widened in shock. Her mind raced to connect the dots. her breath catching in disbelief. "Are you saying our families were connected? Like really connected?" Mr. Carlyle nodded solemnly. "Yeah, and from what you've told me, it sounds like there's a part of my family history that I never fully understood, something that's been hidden, maybe even covered up." The realization was staggering. Their chance meeting beside a broken Mustang, the mysterious ring on Jasmine's finger, the secret pain carried across generations. It all seemed to fit together perfectly, as if fate had drawn them together to finally uncover the truth. Jasmine looked down at her hand, fingers trembling slightly. The ring suddenly felt heavier, as if it carried the weight of all those lost years and broken promises. Mr. Carlyle reached out, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "I want to help you, Jasmine. Together, we can find out what really happened and make things right." A surge of hope and determination washed over her. For the first time, Jasmine felt that maybe the past didn't have to define her future, and that justice might finally be within reach. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the workshop in a warm golden light, two lives that had been separated by history now stood united by a shared purpose. The secrets of the past were no longer hidden in silence, and their journey toward truth and perhaps something more was just beginning. Chapter 5, The Final Twist. Determined to uncover the full story behind the broken engagement and the scandal that had haunted both their families for decades, Jasmine and Mr. Carlyle began a careful investigation. They spent evenings poring over old boxes of photographs, faded letters and dusty documents stored in the Carlyle family archives and Jasmine's attic at home. Their search wasn't easy. Many of the letters were carefully hidden or damaged, and some records had been altered or lost over time. But piece by piece, the truth began to emerge. They discovered heartfelt correspondence between Jasmine's great-grandmother and Mr. Carlyle's grandfather, letters filled with love, dreams and plans for a future that was cruelly stolen. More importantly, they uncovered evidence proving that the accusations against Jasmine's great-grandmother had been fabricated by jealous rivals within the wealthy family, eager to keep her out and maintain control of the family fortune. The scandal was a deliberate attempt to ruin her reputation and erase her from the family history. As the truth came to light, Mr. Carlyle's expression grew solemn. "She was wronged," he said quietly, "and her story has been buried for far too long." Jasmine nodded, tears in her eyes. "All these years she lived with that pain. I want to honor her and make sure other young women don't have to suffer the same way." Inspired by their discovery, Mr. Carlyle made a decision that surprised even Jasmine. He invited her to partner with him in launching a foundation dedicated to supporting young women from underprivileged backgrounds, especially those with talent and ambition but limited resources. The foundation would offer scholarships, apprenticeships, and mentorship programs aimed at helping girls like Jasmine achieve their dreams. "It's time to turn this legacy into something positive," Mr. Carlyle said, offering her a warm smile. "You have the talent, the heart, and the drive. Let's build something together." Jasmine felt a surge of hope and excitement. What started as a simple act of helping fix a Mustang had turned into a life-changing opportunity. More than that, it was a chance to rewrite the story, not just for her family, but for many others who needed a helping hand. And then came the final twist, one that neither of them expected. The ring on Jasmine's finger, once a symbol of broken promises and lost love, became the foundation's emblem. Its delicate sapphire and simple band now represented hope, resilience and new beginnings. At the foundation's launch event, Jasmine stood proudly next to Carlyle, sharing her story with an audience inspired by the journey she had taken. But it wasn't just the ring's symbolism that surprised everyone, it was the bond between Jasmine and Mr. Carlyle. Over months of working together, their professional partnership blossomed into a genuine friendship built on trust and mutual respect. The millionaire wasn't just a benefactor, he became her mentor, her ally, and a steadfast supporter in her quest to steer her own destiny. From that hot summer afternoon when Jasmine fixed the broken Mustang, their lives had intertwined in ways neither could have predicted. Jasmine's dream of becoming a mechanic was no longer just a distant hope, it was a clear, achievable path. And with Miss Carlyle by her side, she knew she had someone who believed in her as much as she believed in herself. As the sun set on that unforgettable day, Jasmine looked down at the ring, now shining brighter than ever. It wasn't just a piece of jewelry, it was a reminder that sometimes the hardest breaks can lead to the strongest bonds, and that even the smallest acts of kindness can ignite the greatest change. In conclusion, Jasmine's story reminds us that sometimes, life's biggest opportunities come from unexpected moments,
like helping a stranger with a broken car. But what truly matters is the strength to hold on to hope, pursue your dreams, and uncover the truth no matter how complicated the past may be. From a high school student with a passion for fixing engines, to becoming a partner in a foundation that empowers others, Jasmine's journey shows how courage and kindness can change lives forever. Outro. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more amazing tales with surprising twists. What do you think happened next for Jasmine and Mr. Carlisle? Let me know down below. And remember, sometimes the smallest act of help can lead to the biggest changes, so keep your heart open and your hands ready to make a difference. See you in the next video.